Hey
Rob
there, everyone.
Liefeld.
Today we're going to be talking about
might
why
be a
I
controversial
like
video.
Rob
Who knows?
Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld has kind of a bad reputation these days. He was a super hot artist in the 80s, 90s, but he fell way off in popularity after a while. But the thing with it is that Rob Liefeld became popular because he had a style, something that was different than what was happening at the time, and something that was exciting to look at. So first thing I want to do is talk about some of the common things with Rob Liefeld art. So if you're looking at this cover, you've got Captain America, this Captain America #1, Rob Liefeld doing the cover. And if you look at this image of Captain America, the first thing you'll notice if you're a Captain America fan is that this is not a standard Captain America. Captain America, though he is pretty jacked, he's not gigantic like this Rob Liefeld is drawing him. But the thing with that is that Rob Liefeld has this thing. He draws men and women as kind of exaggerated versions of men and women. So let me explain this more. Humans are a sexually dimorphic species. This means that males and females have different body types. So you have, for example, men tend to have more muscle than women. They're usually bigger. Women usually have larger waists, larger breasts. It's a kind of thing that separates a man from a woman. So you can tell the difference between a man and a woman usually just by looking. Obviously, there's some cases where it's not going to line up. So you can get an especially strong woman and especially weak male, and the woman will be stronger. But in general, as a general rule, men have certain characteristics that are essentially manly characteristics that people can point to as something with man, facial hair, things like that. And women have those characteristics too. And what Rob Liefeld does with his style is that he is making a style that's accentuating these differences in a huge way. It's not just a small accentuation, it's an exaggeration to the point of ridiculousness. And that's what makes his style. So looking at this Captain America here, he's ridiculously big. He's huge. He's jacked like a super bodybuilder. He's got muscles that people don't even have. And that's kind of a thing with Rob Liefeld. He's not going for photorealism. He's not going for even realistic in a way that you can actually map to a human. So some of this musculature, it's not gonna be perfect, right? This is a collarbone. It's not how collarbones work. But whatever, it's not important for the style. The style is to make it look exaggerated and almost to the point of ridiculousness. And Rob Liefeld does that. I think he does that quite well. So you can see Captain America, he's got his head here, it's on his gigantic body. And that's not to say that the body is misproportioned to his head. It's really not. I would say that this drawing is actually pretty well proportioned in super heroic proportions, which is usually 8 heads. So we could it's not the best image to measure it out because there's foreshortening, so it looks if you just measured it, if I just copied this head here and just pasted it the number of heads, he would look like he's probably 6 heads. But if you look at the straight leg here, the size of the head, it's basically from the leg here. Forehead should be about here. The forehead should basically be the leg to the foot. It's just 4 to 4.5 heads to the foot. That's proportional. The straight leg is basically 4 heads. Maybe I'll show you. So here's a head. We'll Control C this, and we'll just paste a bunch. We'll paste a bunch of heads. And so here's one head, two heads, dope, three heads, four heads. It's a little off. Let me I screwed that up. Whatever. It's about four heads. So his leg. So you can see, like, actually my measurement is a bit off here because I've made the heads too big. So you can see, like, I'm not measuring complete heads because it's like a head and a quarter or so, a little bit more. But as you can see, the leg is about four heads. So that's actually proper. The rest of the body should be about four heads, but it's foreshortened, so it's not easy to show you that it should be four heads. So, like, for example, like if we straighten him up, his head would be up here, right? It would be like much higher because he's leaning over. So his chest would be up forward, his stomach would be out more. You'd have four heads. It's not unproportioned. It's probably all right. So that's talking about Rob Liefeld's men. They're usually extremely muscular, rippling muscles and all over the place. He likes to draw folds and things. He likes to draw lots of lines. He likes this kind of sketchy cross-hatching. You can see that here. You can see that in this area on the boots. He likes to draw that this way. So for women, though, we'll look at this Evangeline image here. So Rob Liefeld has a way of drawing women. Again, it's the same concept, though. So the concept is that the characteristics of women are extremely, extremely exaggerated. So you can see large hips, large breasts, thin waist. It's and these are, it's not as, obviously she's quite muscular, but it's not as muscular as like the men. So she's not like, a bodybuilder woman. She is like a feminine woman in the sense that, like, feminine in the sense that the characteristics are quite exaggerated. So you have, again, round hips, large breasts, puffy lips, thin eyebrows, big hair. It's kind of thing, like this is how Rob Liefeld draws his women. So there was people on the previous video where I mentioned that I liked Rob Liefeld were complaining that, like, they don't care about the pouches. They just think like he draws women like overly sexualized. It's true, he does, but it's not just women. So, like, going on to the next image here, we've got this is Hawk and Dove. So you can see, obviously, again, same things you can see that I just talked about here. So here's Hawk and Dove. Dove, obviously, large breasts, huge hips, thin waist, puffy lips. She's got, flowing hair. She's got it all. So, and it's a sexual, all of these are like somewhat sexual characteristics, but the men have these same kinds of things. So, like, generally when people think of manliness, like and not, obviously not in general, but I mean not everybody, but just a generalization. You think the manly dude, he's got a lot of testosterone, he's big, he's got, he's jacked, he's got muscles, he's like, you bring it back to that old Charles Atlas ad where, like, the skinny dweeb gets sand kicked on him by the muscle guy on the beach. Like, Rob Liefeld is basically making everybody that muscle guy on the beach times 10, and that's how he draws his men. So these are sexual characteristics. It's not, these big muscle men is not like, it's not sexual, right? The kind of fetishization of the musculature and things like that. It's very much a kind of representation of men in a way that like, and I mean obviously it's in a way that men think is attractive for men, and the women are drawn in a way that Rob Liefeld thinks it's attractive for women, but it's completely exaggerated for both. So it's not just his women that are overly kind of sexualized. All the men wear tight fitting outfits too. All the men have like every single part of their body is like accentuated in a way that's like, extremely, like it's not just the women whose clothes are tearing off. It's everybody. It's not exactly a singular thing that he's doing for everybody. Here's an even more. So like, here we go. So Evangeline and Prophet. Evangeline is always like the go-to example. People hate Rob Liefeld's drawings of Evangeline. I'm not like really a big fan of Evangeline. I don't think it's like an interesting character or anything. But like, looking at this art, it's got all of his tropes. This is a kind of like, this outfit and everything. It's very, it's a sexualized outfit. But like at the same time, Prophet is basically just wearing skin paint at this point. Like you can see every single muscle he's got. He's got the classic Rob Liefeld pouches. But the thing with this is that here is the difference. This is like the perfect image to show as like how humans are sexually dimorphic. So you have two, like a female and a male. They look you can easily tell which one is the female and which one is the male here. It's not hard to find. It's not, and like you can do it on site in a second. It's something that like a lot of current comics, especially the Marvel ones, where like previously heroic characters are kind of like just drawn as schlubby dudes, like they're like traced from models or whatever. So like, you look at things like the West Coast Avengers or something, and you'll have like Hawkeye is in there, and he's like basically drawn as just like a regular dude. Like he's basically the same size as the women. Like, like it's not exactly the same kind of style, and it matters. This kind of thing matters. So like when you have characters that are exaggerated, this is like what comic books were about, being exaggerated. And it makes sense that like this kind of thing became popular because it's like took the kind of exaggeration of comic books. And if you've ever read How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, they definitely show you ways of drawing women and men in ways that are totally different. So you have like softer lines for women and things like that, and they'll have like different kinds of musculature and things like that, because men and women have different types of musculature, right? But basically Rob Liefeld, and in some cases people like Jim Lee and stuff, when they have like they draw men and women, it's to this like taking that kind of idea and bringing it to the max. So like, speaking of the max, like no, we're on Image Guys at this point, but like when we have this image, Evangeline and Prophet, it's interesting because this is like a real stylistic choice. Obviously, like proportions are really off. Like how would, if these two were to like have sex, how would it happen? Like it couldn't. It's like not. It's like, like a Great Dane and a Chihuahua having a kid. It doesn't make sense. But like, it's exaggerated in points that are interesting to look at and exciting. So you when you see Prophet in the background there, you think like that guy could smash shit. You see Evangeline, you think like she's fit. She could probably slice up 100 people with those swords. That's like the kind of thing. That's why it's exciting, and that's why it's interesting. If you're really worried about like the proportions and you want them to be realistic, maybe comics aren't for you. I think like superhero comics maybe aren't for you. It's the kind of thing where, superhero comics have always been exaggerated. That's why they have heroic proportions. It's why you have like the amount of heads is more for superheroes than it is for regular people. When you take like a figure drawing class, it's not the same as learning to draw a superhero. It's different. You have to learn a different kind of baseline for drawing these things. And so like going onwards, I'm going to continue on from this to this. So like here, this is like a classic Rob Liefeld cover, X-Force #1. And Rob Liefeld does two types of like covers for groups where he wants everybody to be on screen. And first is this one, this type of cover. It's like everybody is standing around in like a cool pose or something, looking like they're going to do something. So you've got all these dudes all kind of looking menacing, doing cool stuff, standing there. Like, what is Domino doing? Who knows? Looks like she's leaning up against Warpath there. She's got one leg up. I guess it's on Warpath. Who knows? Excuse me. But, you've got this extremely over-exaggerated. And this is the thing. When you have the exaggeration of these things, so like the female characters are all small and thin. The men are all big and burly. Comparatively, they're much bigger. And, they tend to have a lot of accessories. The women not so much, but the men tend to have a lot of accessories, so a lot of pouches and bullets and guns. It's kind of a Rob Liefeld trope. Huge guns, big weapons, lots of pouches. It's just there to look cool. I mean, that's what it is. If you don't think it looks cool, I mean, it's because it's played out from like the time. But when this came out in like 1991, everybody bought this everybody bought this comic. Like everybody has X-Force #1. It's the kind of thing you can probably find in any quarter box, because there are millions of these sold. And same for Jim Lee's X-Men. It's just the same kind of thing going on. But here's Youngblood #1. Again, this is the same kind of Rob Liefeld layout going on here. So again, like all the accessories, buff dudes, metal arms, giant dudes. He likes really big dudes, like giant people. Bad Rock in the background is an example, but like, looking at this drawing, I just think like the Jay Lee version, so much better, it's so much darker and scarier. But whatever, big guns. And then your women, she looks like she's going to be fast. She's got lots of, like the thing that is like you look at Rob Liefeld's women and you just think like, okay, she's going to be like a slashy acrobatic person. She's going to be like someone out of Mortal Kombat come to life. Anyway, like looking at these images, you can see one of the other things that people complain about Rob Liefeld is that he doesn't draw feet, and these are bad examples because like he actually doesn't he doesn't draw feet in the X-Force cover or the Youngblood cover. No feet to be found. Whatever, not important. But here I'm going to go to one of my favorite covers from Rob Liefeld actually is this X-Force #3. This is the Juggernaut fighting X-Force. This is often routinely picked out as one of the worst examples of Rob Liefeld art. I think it's one of the best. It's amazing. I love this cover. When I was a kid, I used to draw this, like try to copy this cover. I loved this cover. It's great. And let me explain why I think it's great. So you've got everybody is fighting, but there's a lot of action going on here. You've got Cannonball shooting in from the side here. You got Warpath running after. Cable looks like he's going to shoot somebody. Domino is coming up from behind. You got Spider-Man swinging in. I mean, like, Spider-Man in the most exaggerated Spider-Man. So, like, you've got Shatterstar looks like he just got walloped by the Juggernaut, or maybe just dodged out of the way of that massive Juggernaut punch. So, the thing with this is that, like, is it great art? No, but the thing with it is, you can nitpick anything you want out of this. Warpath is tiny. I mean, Juggernaut's leg goes behind him. He must be tiny, right? Juggernaut has more teeth than anybody who ever lived. Whatever. It's not. These are like nitpicks. These are all things to make an exaggeration for an exciting action cover. And as an exciting cover that makes you want to look at it, makes you want to pick it up, makes you want to, like, look at what's happening. You're gonna look at this and you're gonna think, oh man, that's cool, look at all this action going on, there's Spider-Man, Juggernaut's fighting people, it's crazy. You're gonna look at this cover and you're gonna think that. If you dumbed this down, if, like, you made this all realistic proportions, Juggernaut is bigger than some of these guys, but, like, maybe with the except he's bigger than all of them. Maybe not Warpath, though. That's the thing. But to make him a threat, he's huge, right? Like, the size of his fist is basically half the size of Shatterstar. That's not how big Juggernaut is, really. But, like, let's be honest here. This cover is awesome because it looks like a war is being fought. It looks like the entire X-Force is just, like, getting mauled by Juggernaut, even though Spider-Man's in the background trying to do something. It's not, like, it's a cool cover. It's just a cool cover. You don't have to. The thing with comics, and the things with comic artists, is that some of them understand a layout that is exciting to look at, and some people don't. So, like, I don't have any examples of bad ones. There are, but this is not an example of a bad one. It's an exciting looking cover. It makes you want to look at it and think, this is awesome. Whereas you'll get often, like, especially these days, you'll get a lot of covers that are just boring, static shots of people standing there, weird kind of, like, people looking like they're feeling some feelings. It's, like, not the kind of action that draws people in, especially not younger people who are excited about, superheroes. Like, if you're a superhero comic reader and you're, like, 12, this cover is going to draw you in, other than, like, like, two, like, dudes hugging or whatever. It's not like it's not exactly going to make an exciting cover. And like, when you read superhero comics, the action is, like, a lot of the draw, right? Superheroes have superpowers. They fight superpowered things. That's how it works. That's how comics work. That's basically every story. So when you're going through this, you have to think about what makes an exciting cover. Here's another exciting cover. This is Youngblood 8. So what is going on here? Who knows? But you can tell something badass is happening. So, like, you don't have to. This is like a Rob Liefeld trope, in that, like, everybody is diving towards the camera. So you'll find a lot of images of people diving towards the camera. He doesn't have to draw the lower leg. He can just cut that off. He likes that. But, you've got, in this image, everybody is, like, flying into action. I don't even remember the names of all these characters, but, like, flying up in here, you've got everybody, all types of crazy action lines going on. You've got all types of interesting stuff going on in the background. There's not a background, it's just a pattern, but, like, it's showing, like, energy crackling out of everywhere. It's speeding forward at something. What is it? We don't know. Not by the cover, but everybody is going into action. These two guys, this guy down here, she is jumping crazy into action with a glowing fist. Bad Rock looks like he's gonna smash some stuff. You got everybody. So again, it's all about the excitement of the cover. I think, like, what the idea of Rob Liefeld is that, like, he doesn't use photo references. You can obviously, he doesn't use photo references, but like he's drawing from his imagination. So like what he brings forth is a kind of situation that it's like an exciting, dynamic battle. Everything he draws is exciting to look at because like he's drawing it from his imagination, and he's got like a pretty good imagination for imagery, at least. You got to think of the sense that, you know, he's thinking of like, you're going to see this and you're going to think, oh man, these guys are doing this awesome thing. We got to look at this. You know, like that's how kind of kids are with comics. And that's exactly how they were with stuff like Youngblood back in the day. Like Youngblood, Spawn, you like, Shadowhawk, is it? The dude that breaks people's backs. Like that's, you know, like the Max, all of those characters from Image were like, you know, not a lot of them were incredibly well written, but they all had this kind of action, you know, crazy feel to them where you would look at it and you think, oh man, look at these guys, they're gonna fight, they're gonna kill people. And then you'll have like, or you know, you'll have like Shadowhawk would be like, oh shit, he breaks people's backs, that's crazy. You know, like it's the kind of thing where, you know, you'll look at these comics, and this is like how, in like, to think about this, when you had X-Force going on with Rob Liefeld, or like X-Men with Jim Lee, it was like exciting. It was amazing to look at. You'd look at those things and you'd think like, good lord, this is all craziness going on all the time. Like the Uncanny X-Men run with Jim Lee is like legendary. After Chris Claremont and Jim Lee left X-Men, basically that book fell way off. You know, that's like downhill from there. X-Force, same. Once Rob Liefeld was gone, like the kind of excitement for it just died off because, you know, you didn't have the kind of the artists that people were really into that made it exciting to look at. And I think a lot of the downside for comics these days is that a lot of the stuff that's coming out doesn't kind of understand the lesson of Rob Liefeld. What, you know, like he's kind of a joke now. Like if you type in Rob Liefeld into Google, the first thing that's going to come up is probably like the 40 worst images of Rob Liefeld or whatever. But all of that stuff is really nitpicky and doesn't quite grasp the concept of why Rob Liefeld was so popular. Because he was drawing cool stuff that was exciting to look at. Nobody cares if your perspective is a little off, or if your proportions are strange, or if the, you know, like it doesn't look exactly right, if it's exciting and like draws your eye. So, you know, this image is actually quite well laid out. First, you've got a focal point right in the middle here, which is just like, you know, it's dead set in the middle, this big red dot. It's exactly where your eyes are going to go right when you look at this image. So you know exactly where you're looking. This guy's head is like your main image, but like everything radiates around him, and you've got everyone coming forward. It's a pretty great image. It's exactly the kind of thing that would draw people in, and you don't get a lot of stuff like that these days. So, well, I think I'm pretty much done talking about why I like Rob Liefeld. I think I've explained a lot of the kind of goodness of Rob Liefeld. I mean, obviously this is a taste-based thing, and like everyone's free to say that he sucks, but I think that's kind of a bad reading. There's a reason he was popular, and I think the reason is that he was really good at drawing really exciting stuff and stuff that really appealed to people. So, and also, last image here, kind of a joke. Rob Liefeld drew this, the pouch. It's a it's a joke about how he draws so many pouches. So he made a character that's entirely made out of pouches with a pouch gun that shoots pouches. That's amazing. So like he even has a good nature about, you know, his kind of what people make fun of him for. He's just like, I started following him on Twitter, and I kind of like Rob Liefeld now more than I've ever liked Rob Liefeld. He's just kind of like a regular dude on Twitter talking about normie stuff. It's, you know, just seems like a good guy. Seems like a good guy altogether. And I like that he is, you know, willing to make fun of himself, willing to, you know, talk about things. His new book, Major X, is doing amazing. And, you know, it's just a good thing. He's just, he knows what he's doing. And I think he gets a bad shake right now, because the trope is like people who don't understand the kind of era of Rob Liefeld just kind of go into it, hear his name, and just think like, oh, everybody says he sucks, he must suck. That's it. But like, it's not really the truth of it. So yeah, that's about it. If you guys want to talk about it, want to tell me how wrong I am, how much Rob Liefeld sucks, and why, we can talk in the comments. I'm not averse to any Rob Liefeld hate that I assume I'll get from this video, but you know, whatever. We can talk about it. You can make your counterpoints. I'm willing to listen. And yeah, so comment below. Let me know what you think. Tell me your stories about how much you love Rob Liefeld, maybe. Get some support going. Rob Liefeld Support Network. Yeah, that's about it. I will catch you guys next time.